guys know that this culture of innovation transcends borders. It's the same whether it's Kuwait or San Francisco or Madrid or Las Ventas. So the next, thank you. So the next speaker that I have, it's an interesting bio that I have to present. When the whole world looks at LinkedIn as a source of resources, Steve Carrigan, who you've met earlier, who I didn't get to introduce, is the one that moved LinkedIn's talent base 700% over a 3-year period. So thank you, Steve, for saying yes to come all the way here and give us a talk. Steve's next talk is on nurturing, building the theme from earlier, nurturing this culture of innovation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You guys still awake? You ready for some action? Okay. Well, as you heard, I've been in the talent business for probably around 30 years right now. I've been in the fashion industry, the insurance industry, the semiconductor industry. I'm never going back to the semiconductor industry. I've been in the web business and I've been in the games business. But mostly I've been in the people business. And what I was asked to talk about, to share with you today, is a story that I think a lot of us try to answer, which is how do we unlock the most creative, the most innovative possibilities of our organizations. And so I want to share with you a little bit of my experience in doing that, because I had an opportunity, a rare opportunity of doing that when I was with LinkedIn not long ago. But first, let me ask you a question. In building value and creating value, what is the biggest driver of value in your organizations? Hint, I'm a people guy. What is it? It's people. People build value. They drive the greatest value creation of anything and any asset in your organization. So the first question I want to ask you as you think about your entrepreneurial journey is, what is your people strategy? And I'm not talking about how many people are we going to hire this year, or what new offices, or what new locations, or what new skills, but what is your talent strategy? How are you going to unlock greatness? How are you going to realize something special that you couldn't realize without particular skills, assets, and creativity? What's your talent strategy? I got to tell you, I'm frustrated. I stopped working for a company 2 years ago, and I said, what's my next move? Oh, I know what my next move is. I'm going to be on a board of directors. Do you know how many talent experts of the most important resources in an organization, sit on public company boards in the world? Chirp, 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 chirp. Right. Almost none. Why is that? If talent is the most important priority for you to realize greatness, is it the number one priority on your business objectives? Or is making money, building the product, building the website, is that more important? I don't understand that. I work with some of the most interesting organizations around the world, some of the biggest, some of the smallest, some of the youngest, earliest. And I say, what's most important to you? Well, we want to be innovative. Okay, how are you going to do that? You, the CEO, are you the smart one? Are you going to figure it out? Or is your job to unlock that power that you have in your organization? So when I get asked, Steve, how did you create this innovative culture at LinkedIn? I say, well, it's almost like asking, I don't know, tell me, how do you fall in love? How do you do that? Is there a game plan? Is there a formula for that? And I think this is one of the interesting dynamics that we deal with. You cannot control, there is no formula that perfectly unlocks innovation, because all of us are different and every organization is different. But it starts with the belief that for me to innovate, it's going to involve my people, engaging them in ways that are not traditional, in ways that are not involving control. It's much more a world of influence than control, of freedom. And this is the new reality. This is the new digital reality. This is why I get so excited, and this is why I'm happy no one's sitting in the front row, because I'm going to start spitting. I'm so excited. There's a new reality requiring a new leadership. And I want to share with you my adventure at LinkedIn because we innovated. But let me tell you, we didn't start with a plan of we're going to innovate. That's not where we started. We started with we have a business idea and maybe it's going to work and maybe it won't. But we don't have a lot of time because we think Google could steal this business and build a business like Google Circles, Google Plus. We think maybe Facebook is going to wake up one day and say, we are Workbook. When we filed our S1 to go public in 2010, wanting to go public in 2011, when you file your S1 with your registration of your business plan, you basically give everyone your secret formula of success. And what Facebook saw was every member that we had, we made 5 times much more money per Facebook member. Do you think that would be interesting to them? Oh, yeah. So I didn't have a lot of time to build my business to innovate. I had no time. I had a lot of pressure. Plus, I had competition trying to hire people as fast as I could. So when I think about this new reality, and I think about what we achieved, let me share with you the end point here. In less than 10 years, we built a company worth over $25 billion. I hired in the 4 years that I was at LinkedIn 400 to 4,000 people against the most competitive, most sexy brands in the world. As I mentioned earlier this morning, Google made more money in a day than LinkedIn made in a year. You try competing against that. You try growing talent in an environment like that. We grew our share price 7,000% in a 5-year period. How do you do that? What's the magic in what's the formula? We didn't have one. And guess what? The end result was we completely disrupted a recruiting industry. Completely disrupted it. Was that the game plan in the beginning? No, it wasn't. Build something special. I think this is going to be something you will find in your journey. Where you start and where you aim may not be where you end up. And guess what? That's okay. How many people here believe that having a 5-year plan is something you can believe in? I know what's going to happen in 5 years. Yeah, it's a joke, right? So if that is the reality that we live in today, that the future is uncertain, that I have massive competition that could come out of nowhere really quickly, what does that mean for me? It means I better hustle. And it means I better create a place where ideas can grow really, really fast. And this is the hard part. Can't control that. I cannot control a formula that will spit out the most amount of innovation. And so here's a little bit of the story that a lot of people don't know about LinkedIn. And I said, Julia, I'm going to share it just with this audience, no one else, okay? What we achieved really should have been impossible. It was crazy the odds we were up against. We realized a $25 billion market cap in what many investors believe is one of the best technology IPOs with a CEO who'd never been a CEO before. With an executive team, including me, I ran the talent space. I'd never taken a company public before. Our CFO, our head of marketing, head of engineering, head of operations, head of sales, had never managed people as big as the teams that we were managing. We'd never, any of us, ever worked in the recruiting business before. I was the only one that ever really hired a lot of people. Well, I got to be honest, I've fired more people in my life than I've hired. It's my confession. But we had no business on paper achieving the result that we achieved. So a lesson I'd like to share with you. You do not need to have world-class experience to be world-class. You don't need to have done something before, to have had that experience to build something amazing. But we learned in this ocean of uncertainty, we learned some things that I want to share with you. And maybe they'll apply for you, and maybe they won't. But I think the new reality is certain and how uncertain it is. And I think one of the lessons I want to leave with you is you can't have a plan for innovation. You have to find ways to get out of the way of your people. But yet we've learned ever since we started going to kindergarten, the very first years of our school, it's about teacher, student. It's about someone is in control. Someone is having to take orders. I need to follow. We've all built this model, and it's time for that model to be broken. You just heard Peter Thiel's written an unbelievable testimony to that. Reid Hoffman's also written A New Reality. And that digital reality is the tip of the spear. This huge competition for technology and for opportunity and for talent in Silicon Valley is going to start to spread, and you're going to start to feel it. So this is a world where I think you need to find out, how do I create an environment where the ideas win, not the smartest person? Where the manager that's great is not the manager who makes the best decision, it's the manager who builds the team that can produce the best ideas. It's the organizations that create an infrastructure or an opportunity for there to be people to bring out their best. So what does that look like? I don't know. It's different for all of us. Someone says, hey, Steve, do you like working at home? No, I don't like working at home. My kids, Daddy, get me food. Daddy, play a game with me. That's not where my innovation happens. Some of my best thinking happens when I'm driving the car. Where does the best innovation happen for your employees? Let me ask you this. Have you ever asked your employees? Listening strategy, one of the huge lessons that we learned at LinkedIn. We don't know how we're going to get from here to there. We think they do. And that's also scary because now you're forfeiting a little bit more control. I think competitive advantage, and the competitive advantage we had at LinkedIn, was the fact that we learned how to iterate and change quickly. And in the web business, I think this helped me. Do you know how fast you develop product in the semiconductor industry? About 3 years. You design a chip, you talk to the customer, it takes about 2 years for the customer to say, okay, I like it, then it takes about 2 more years to build it, and then you cross your fingers that the fab in China can build it, then you build it and you deliver it. So it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years. In the web business, it's about 4 hours between putting that code together and shooting it out on the website and changing a user's experience. 4 minutes. And what we would do at LinkedIn, and I'm sure a lot of you in the web business or even in the games business do this, you do a lot of A/B testing. Well, let's take two segments of our customers, let's give them 2 different experiences, and let's see which one works better. And that's how a lot of my community, that's about 50% of my population at LinkedIn, that's how they saw creation. Let's try, let's learn, let's change. So as a leadership team, we started to say, well, let's try, let's learn, let's change. Maybe this communication plan works in this country, doesn't work over here. Okay, let's change it. Now, I've been used to working in big companies where you say, let's go away for 3 weeks and have an offsite to talk about the plan to change the communication plan for next year. But let's first have a meeting. Who should attend the meeting? That's ridiculous. You can't win today because your competitor is going to figure it out much faster. So your strength is speed, and you'll never know all the information you need to know to make the high-quality decisions that you need to make. So creating a culture of innovation, I can't give you the formula. But I can tell you what I learned was I listened to my employees. I asked them through surveys. I asked them through town halls. I asked my managers, please meet with your best employees every week if you can. Ask them, are they doing what they love? Do they have an idea of how they could be better? The number one question that we asked, that we learned the most information to help inform what we could do better at LinkedIn was, what is stopping you from doing your best work? Tell us the stories. What is it? Not enough meeting rooms, too much email, too many meetings, too many people who are loud, someone next to you doesn't take a shower, they smell. What is it? I will fix it. I will change it. I want you to do your best work. Because if you don't, in Silicon Valley, if my best talent can't do their best work, they're going to go like this and walk to my competitor next door tomorrow. They can do that. So I've got to have this ultra-competitive advantage of providing an environment where I'm learning, I'm listening. And I have news for you. Leaders, we don't know it all. Our job is actually to help our people find it and help them realize greatness together. Another thing is this whole ability of adaptability. As a leadership team at LinkedIn, for the first 2 years we worked together, we debated and fought about every decision. How many organization levels should we have? What does it take to get somebody promoted? How long should someone be in a job before we should let them take another job? How often should we communicate to the organization? What should we share? How much should we share? And we fought and we fought. In fact, we even fought about how we should have the meeting. Should it be 2 hours, 4 hours, Monday or Friday? In the morning or the afternoon? Should we bring food in? Should we have coffee? Should we not? Should we invite the second layer of vice presidents? Should we just have the executives? What should we talk about? How long should we talk about it? Until after about 2 years, we found an amazing executive meeting format that worked for us, that helped us run the business. And at first, I was like, why can't we just make a decision on a staff meeting? This is driving me crazy. But what we were doing was iterating. What we were doing was learning how to debate together and how, as an executive team, that we could find our best rhythm to work, to flow. And the CEO used to drive me crazy. Jeff, make a decision. Geez, we're fighting all day long. No, he says, no, I want us to learn how to do this. At the time, I thought he was crazy. Now I think maybe he's a little genius. Because the skill we were building wasn't what we wound up with, which was a great staff meeting framework. It was the strength of working together that was really, really important. I would offer to you, that's one of the strongest skills you can build as a young organization or even as a big organization. How do you solve problems? Can you solve them quickly? Are you engaging people in that? And I think how you relate with your organization through problem solving says an awful lot about your belief in unlocking the ability for you to innovate. We fought and fought and fought so hard to keep our organization flat. And it was so easy for me to fight against some big companies that I'm recruiting against because I say, you know what the org structure is over there at Yahoo? There's a CEO, and then working for the CEO is an EVP, and working for them is an SVP, then a VP, then an AVP, then a senior director, a junior director, associate director, senior manager, technical lead, manager, you. Okay, LinkedIn, we got CEO, VP, director, manager, you. Where do you want to be? Here or here? It's up to you. We felt we needed to move quickly, so we wanted it flat. And that held for until we hit about 2,000 people. Then we started to say, guys, I just went to my alumni day at IE, and I met my classmate, and he's a vice president at eBay, and I'm a manager. I'm smarter than that guy. He's a VP. I'm a manager. And so if you're in human resources, you know the game, you know how it works. You go, well, I'm paying you like a vice president. Well, how can you be so transparent to care about title? Who cares about title? And he says, yeah, but I really want to be a VP. It's like, well, I'm paying you like a VP. I mean, show your wife your paycheck. I mean, it's amazing. No, I want to be a vice president. So at some point we said, you know what? Who cares? Do we really care about the title? Who cares? What we care about is creating value. What we care about is innovation. He's so important to us. Do we really care about that? And do we think it's fair? Is he deserving of it? Sure, he's deserving of it. So we did that. But I'm telling you, listen. Listening is the most powerful asset that you have in an environment that you don't know, that you're uncertain about, and that's changing constantly. So I'd like to just leave you with this final thought that I don't think I can't give you the formula because innovation is a way of being. It's like love. Like, how can you describe love? Like, what's the formula for that? I don't know. I know it when I feel it. If talent is going to drive the best creativity for you, is it the most important thing on your agenda of what you talk about? How much time do you talk about it? Because I tell you, there's not many board of directors that have someone that cares about talent like me out there. Trust me, I've knocked on a lot of doors. Today I sit on the board of about a dozen companies, some of them sponsoring this very forum. They get it. Because they get, I'm going to win with the talent that innovates. And I don't really know what that looks like because every organization is different, and I can't give you my formula and say it's going to work for you. But it's a way of being. It's how you build your relationship with your organization. If hierarchy works for you and it creates innovation, awesome. Didn't work for me. Flat worked for me. Open spaces worked for me. No offices worked for me. No emails every other Friday worked for me. No limited meetings, that worked for me. The idea trumping the idea creating more value than anything worked for me. So I challenge you, if you want to build a culture of innovation, guess what? There's not a lot of people in front of you that have done something special. You can do it, and you can do it on your terms in a way that works with your people. And maybe next year you can get up here and share the story with everyone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you.